Did you know that in a 2016 Pew Research report, it was discovered that people that are in higher socioeconomic groups are actually twice as likely to read books as those in lower socioeconomic groups? As a startup founder, it's no secret that continuous learning is your edge to staying ahead of the game. And what better way to do so than through the experience and insights of others? That's why I want to share with you my book recommendations for all startup founders in the year 2025. And make sure you watch to the end because I'll be sharing some extra bonus recommendations that you won't want to miss. You want to be a startup founder, or maybe you're already a startup founder. Now, this is awesome, but there's a really big difference between wanting to be a startup founder and actually being a startup founder. More specifically, there's a difference between thinking that it sounds cool and actually playing the game. Now, the reality is that being a startup founder requires you to set extremely high goals and make really, really hard choices on a day-to-day basis. Things like not seeing family or not seeing friends or not going out to fun places like what your friends are doing. This is going to be a really, really hard thing. You might even lose sleep or not make as much money as you could in the short term in order to hopefully accomplish your dreams. This will take ungodly amounts of self-discipline. And that's where the book Atomic Habits comes in. Atomic Habits talks about, as you might imagine, habits, but it does so in a way that's extremely actionable and relevant to your day-to-day life. This will allow you to take things that maybe seem hard to do or seem like they take a lot of effort on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis, and really turn them into things that are automatic that you can just kind of just sit back, not relax, but like sit back and just know that they're going to be happening. Atomic Habits is a fantastic book for making that a reality. It's one that I read, well, actually I read all of these, but it's one that I found to be one of the most actionable books that I've ever read, period, across my entire life. I really enjoyed it, and I actually employ a lot of the techniques that I learned in that book to this day, even though I read it over a year ago. I think what's even better about this book, Atomic Habits, is that since it's not really business, it's more just about life, personal development, and self-growth. It really will teach you skills that you can use even beyond your startup journey into all other aspects of your life. And even maybe, let's say, once you make your millions of dollars from your startup and you're ready to call it quits, you'll still be able to utilize the skills that you've learned in this book to really just live a more fulfilling and well-rounded life. The next book I want to tell you about is called The Mom Test. Now, before I tell you about it, I want to tell you a little story. Stop me if you've heard this before. A person comes up with what they think is $1 million idea. They then go and spend, let's say, 6 months to a year building that idea. And then they wonder why no one uses it once they do build it. This is where the mom test comes in. And it basically is the idea that there are people in your life who you probably will go to and ask questions and ask for feedback and things like that, like, for example, your mom or your dad. However, because these people are so emotionally attached to you, they are less likely to be able to remove their relationship to you from the picture and be able to give you objective advice and feedback. You don't want to not talk to these people. Obviously, you probably still want to ask them these questions. But what you want to do is be able to phrase the questions in a different way so that they don't even have the ability to give you that biased feedback. This book is pretty short, pretty sweet, and to the point. And personally, after I read this book, I actually revamped all of my interview questions that I would ask during user research. One thing that the book really talks about is how people don't want to upset people. They want to be people pleasers. They want to give you the information that they think that you want to know. But if you can ask the question in a certain way that allows them to not even know what you're asking about, but really just freely give their feedback and advice and insight, that is kind of that golden area that you really want to be in. The third book I want to tell you about is called Day Trading Attention by a pretty well-known author and social media personality, Gary Vaynerchuk. I didn't read any of his other ones, but this one I actually picked up. I think he released it back over the summer of 24. And I thought it was pretty interesting and a really good job of telling you and teaching you how to actually capture people's attention and how to make content that they will be interested in, that they will engage with, and ultimately will allow you to build your brand. This is something that is so important to building a startup. Even if you're not going to launch your startup for a little bit, even if you're going to do more of a limited release for only a certain amount of people, whatever the case may be, a well-positioned brand, especially a personal brand, that allows you to then go and promote various different things that you have interest in and that kind of relate to your audience is incredibly, incredibly valuable. And this book really helped me a lot to kind of understand that. And although my channel might not be the biggest, I'm certainly, I think, employing a lot of the techniques that I learned in this book. And so hopefully, sky's the limit for this channel. And I think you can benefit a lot from it too. The other thing that's really interesting is that a lot of the stuff that he talks about in this book doesn't only apply to the current platforms that we have today, let's say as of recording or as of whenever he wrote the book. It actually, it uses a lot of the current day platforms as examples, but it talks about them in such a way that you can actually take those concepts, extract them out, and then apply them to a wide range of other platforms, as inevitably new social media platforms will pop up, new mediums will pop up. You can kind of apply them wherever you need to, in whatever way you need to, in order to be successful. So this next one is called Play to Win. A lot of these books I have in like digital, like ebook format, so I'm just gonna put up like pictures of them and stuff like that. This one I actually had bought, and hopefully that might be backwards, but it's called Play to Win, and I thought this one was really, really good. It talks about business strategy, and I think strategy can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and it also depends on the context in which you're talking about it. But it can also be kind of one of these mysterious things that people just use the word strategy without really defining how to think about it, or how it works, or how it should work even, right? This book, I thought, did a really good job of actually diving into business strategy specifically and talking about how it works, presenting a framework for how to actually employ and develop, then employ a business strategy. And so I thought it was really, really great. It's probably one that you won't really need to read until later on in your journey, when you're actually starting to think about the product and how you want to go to market and what the product should be. I tried to order these actually in the order that I think you should read them. So for example, having really great habits in your life is going to be extremely, extremely valuable, but you could also just go right to the mom test. And that would be really amazing to be able to test out your idea, right? So this one, Play to Win, I would actually read in the order that I'm presenting them. But I thought it did a really great job of talking about business strategy, and I think that it's one that you should definitely have on your wish list or on your bookshelf come 2025. All right, next one I want to tell you about is called Play Bigger. This one right here. This one talks about category development, so business category, product category. It talks about the need to actually try and really reach for the stars. Like, you don't want to capture, let's say, 1% of the market. You don't want to just cut out your slice of the pie. You want to be the pie. You want to define what the pie is. You want to create the pie. And then you get to, once you do that, kind of control the biggest share of that pie. And so it gives some really great examples from, I think these guys were consultants, and then they went and, wrote this book. So it gives some great examples from companies that they did consulting with. And I think it's a really great one that you want to check out and that you'll really enjoy and learn a lot from come 2025. Okay, so I want to also mention some honorable mentions. So these are some kind of bonus books that I think maybe you should check out. So the first one is Harvard Business Review on High Performance. So the Harvard Business Review's 10 must-reads series, they'll basically pick a topic, like in this case, on high performance, and they will pick out 10 articles that have been published over, however many years in the Harvard Business Review that talk about whatever that topic is, and they will kind of compilate them into a book. So this one I thought was really interesting. It talks about, what it means to actually perform on a daily basis at a high level. What does it mean to be an expert in a given subject or a given domain? And I thought that this was really interesting, and it definitely puts in the perspective, like, okay, you want to be a founder, you want to be an entrepreneur, you basically have to be on all the time. You have to be able to perform at that high level every single day. We all have off days, I get that, but like the intent and the journey, the mission should be like, I need to perform at a high level every single day, because there's a million other people that are also trying to perform at a high level every single day. And in order to beat those people, I need to be able to do it myself. The next one, honorable mention that I want to share with you is another Harvard Business Review, 10 must reads. This one, it's unfortunate, I think it's backwards, but this one is on mental toughness. And basically this one talks about being able to persevere during adversity, like through adversity, right? Like, what does it actually mean to get through adversity and to keep going and to, I don't want to use the word be mentally tough because that's an obvious thing, but what does it actually mean and what does it take and how can you think about doing that so that you can actually be able to do that, right? That's not such an easy thing to do. I think that's largely what sets apart the successful people from people who maybe don't find that level of success in their life. But mental toughness is an extremely important trait and thing that you can learn, that'll make you a much better person. Okay, the next few ones I don't have like the actual physical copy of, but the next one is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. This is a bit of a classic. Talks about how to, a lot of books talk about 1 to 100, kind of repeating what's already been there, scaling what's already been there, right? But actually creating something new from zero that doesn't exist is the harder part, right? And so that book talks about how to actually bring new products to the world and how to think about them and how to make the world a better place even. So that one is another kind of classic that a lot of people will tell you about, and for good reason. It's a pretty good book. The last one that I want to tell you about is called The Lean Startup. This is one that I read probably 3 years ago or so, maybe more. I don't know. But this is like one of those really, really classic startup books from Eric Ries. And he talks about how to operate in a fast, measured way. He's the one who presented the build, measure, learn feedback loop, where you build something, you distribute it to people, measure how they use it, and then learn from that measurement and those findings, and then kind of just keep going and iterating. He's the guy, this is the book that presented that idea. I don't know if he was the first one to ever use that term, but that's where I remember seeing it for the first time, and he kind of presents it there. So that's another classic one that a lot of people will share with you. I think it's also something that's maybe worth kind of rereading, and so I kind of actually have on my list maybe to go back and reread some of these books. Because even though I do take notes, sometimes you might miss a few things. So anyway, that's another one that I think is a classic, and again, for good reason. All right, thanks so much for watching. If you think that I missed any books, definitely drop them down below in the comments. Let me know what you think I missed. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. See ya.